Today is Monday, May 1st. We'll update you about the flooding impacting almost all areas of the U.S. in different ways, and the reason behind what's now the biggest strike in Canada in decades. Also, another failed bank, why the government is now taking over, and what's expected to happen next. Plus, we're explaining the rising trend of reverse ATMs and what to know about the White House Correspondents Dinner and the Met Gala. Those stories and more news to know coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Well, May is off to a very wet start for a lot of this country, from the west to the Midwest to the east. We'll start with the East Coast. There have been some flash flooding concerns in places like Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Maine after a weekend washout. Same deal with parts of New Jersey, New York, and the Washington, D.C. area. And the rain is sticking around in the Northeast today, so flood advisories are still in effect. Further south, there's storm cleanup happening in South Florida since a powerful storm system swept through over the weekend, including intense rain, powerful winds, and at least one tornado. Moving to the middle of the country, people living along the Mississippi River are keeping a close eye on the water levels. Record winter snowfall in the upper Midwest is now melting and flooding downstream. The river is already at major flood stage levels across several states, including Wisconsin, Iowa, and Illinois. Crucial barge traffic is being put on hold for weeks, meaning shippers are scrambling to find alternative transportation. And finally, out west, record-breaking heat melted parts of the snowpack in California, causing flooding there too. Yosemite Valley had to shut down for a few days, but is expected to fully reopen this morning. More than 250 law enforcement officers are working to track down a mass shooter. But as of this morning, they say they have zero leads. Investigators say Francisco Oropesa killed 5 people in a small Texas town on Friday. They say it started when he was shooting an AR-15 rifle in his yard at 11:30 at night. Apparently, a neighbor confronted him, telling Oropesa he was trying to put his baby to sleep and that if he didn't stop, he would call the police. Well, investigators say Oropesa responded by walking into the man's home and shooting people inside. 5 people were killed, including a child. Now the FBI and local sheriff's office are leading a manhunt. Authorities are offering an $80,000 reward for any tips that lead to his capture. The U.S. government has started evacuating more American citizens out of the East African country of Sudan. The State Department says 2 convoys are now headed to Saudi Arabia, where they'll be met by American personnel ready to help. At this point, nearly 1,000 Americans have left the country since the fighting between 2 rival military groups broke out earlier this month. Hundreds of people have been killed, including 2 Americans. And people who have decided to stay in Sudan face shortages of food, water, medicine, and electricity. It's not clear when the fighting will end. Both sides control key sites, and violence has continued even through ceasefires. To be continued. In Canada, more than 155,000 federal workers are now on strike. That's nearly a third of the country's public servants. And it makes this the biggest strike in Canada in decades. Workers have been striking for nearly 3 weeks now over pay and remote work. One of the most pressing issues with that is it means the country's immigration system is getting seriously overwhelmed. Immigration hearings have been canceled and applications have been stalled. That's a lot of backlog, since Canada recently raised its immigration target to record-setting levels. Now, some immigrants are left waiting abroad, and others are unsure of their legal status in the country. It's not just the immigration system that's impacted by this strike, though. The protests also impact government services like tax filings, passport renewals, senior citizen benefits, and more. So Canada's government and the union are negotiating a new deal, hoping to get this thing settled. So far, all the picket lines have been peaceful and orderly, but they have caused traffic around government buildings. There could be even more protests happening today around the world. It's May Day, aka International Workers' Day. The U.S. does not formally recognize it as a national holiday, the way some other countries do, but you will still find many people who mark the occasion. May Day happens every May 1st as a way to celebrate the contributions of the working class and rally for better labor rights, among other things. Large protests are already happening around Europe this morning, as well as celebrations in China. Coming up, we're talking about another failed bank, a flower recall, a huge celebrity gathering, reverse ATMs, and more. But first, I'm excited to tell you about our new sponsor, Castleflex. I'm sure you've heard how stretching is such a big thing right now. There are new stretch places opening up across the country, and for good reasons. In fact, a recent study found that stretching is even more effective than brisk walking for certain health benefits. But just like anything, there are ways to go about it that are likely better than others. My new go-to for stretching is Castle Flex, and it's my husband's new favorite as well. Really, we've both been dealing with some back issues in the last year or so. Mine was originally from a car accident that I thought was healed, but after lifting a toddler every day, I've realized it's really not. And my husband has been dealing with something even worse, herniated discs. So we both really needed a solution. CastleFlex is already making a big difference for both of us. In 2021, the inventor was struggling with herniated discs himself, and that's why he created the device called CastleFlex. It healed him in less than a year. So learn more at CastleFlex, flex with 2 X's, castleflex.com, and be sure to use our code NEWS10 for 10% off. Again, follow the link in our episode notes and then get 10% off with the code NEWS10, NEWS10. Some of America's most well-known politicians, reporters, and celebrities came together over the weekend for a good roasting. It was the annual White House Correspondents Association Dinner, the time of year when everyone gets teased and also celebrated. President Biden joked about a lot, including his own age, saying, quote, "I believe in the First Amendment, not just because my good friend Jimmy Madison wrote it." Of course, Madison was in the White House from 1809 to 1817. After the president came comedian Roy Wood Jr., who's known for his role on Comedy Central's The Daily Show. Right away, he addressed one of the biggest scandals Biden is facing, saying, quote, "Real quick, Mr. President, I think you left some of your classified documents up here." Wood also ripped into former President Trump, Fox News, CNN, and more. But both Wood and Biden also spoke about the importance of a free press. Each year, the dinner raises money for scholarships for students looking to pursue a career in journalism. It's likely the third major American bank to fail in just 2 months. This time, it's First Republic Bank. If that sounds familiar, it's because we told you about the bank back in March when it got a $30 billion lifeline from big banks that wanted to save the mid-size one, saying it was critical to the financial system as a whole. Well, it looks like that did not cut it. Customers just kept withdrawing their deposits. And in the span of just a few weeks, First Republic ended up losing $102 billion. Now, news outlets like the Wall Street Journal say the FDIC is preparing to seize and sell it. With that, big banks like JPMorgan Chase and PNC Financial reportedly put in their offers over the weekend. But the FDIC is expected to accept one of those bids before First Republic opens this morning. When that happens, all of First Republic's deposits would likely be protected since they'd become accounts of whichever bank takes over. But we'll know more when the FDIC makes it official. Stay tuned. It's time to check your pantries if you've ever bought flour from the brand Gold Medal. There's a recall because salmonella was found in a sampling. Bleached and unbleached flours may be affected if they have a better if used by date of March 27th or 28th of 2024. The company behind the brand is General Mills. It's telling consumers to throw away any recalled products, and you can also call the company's customer service line. Adidas is facing a class action lawsuit that stems from its partnership with Kanye West, now known as Just Ye. Investors are suing, claiming the sportswear brand routinely ignored extreme behavior from Ye before ending their partnership just last year. Adidas partnered with the rapper in 2013 and launched Yeezys 2 years later, which quickly became a huge success. But the lawsuit now points to problematic statements Ye made, including claims in 2018 that slavery was a choice. Adidas cut ties with Ye last year after he made multiple anti-Semitic comments. Now Adidas told USA Today it plans to fight this lawsuit. A spokesperson said, quote, "We outright reject these unfounded claims." Meanwhile, the new CEO wants to refocus the brand on sports. The Wall Street Journal says Adidas plans to open more American stores and forge new partnerships with athletes. Plus, the company spent hundreds of millions of dollars on a new facility in Los Angeles where it will base its basketball product team, and recently renewed a longtime partnership with Major League Soccer. Some of the world's biggest fashion icons are putting some of their best looks on display tonight. New York City's Metropolitan Museum of Art is hosting its annual Met Gala. A ticket is pretty hard to come by. Not only does it cost about $50,000, but it's invite only. There are a few people who don't actually have to pay to be there, though, since some designers decide to buy an entire table and pick their own guests. This year, about 400 high-profile guests are expected to be there. The theme is Karl Lagerfeld, a line of beauty, after the famous fashion designer who passed away a few years ago. As always, the whole event is being thrown by Vogue editor-in-chief Anna Wintour. But this year, she has help from co-chairs including actresses Penelope Cruz and Michaela Cole, tennis player Roger Federer, and pop star Dua Lipa. The event will be live streamed across Vogue's social media pages and website. E! Will also air the red carpet arrivals starting at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's it for the main news, so now it's time for Money Monday, when we talk about one interesting money-related news story. And today, we're talking about reverse ATMs, what they are, how they work, and where they're being used around the country. But first, this episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. It's so easy to get caught up in what everyone else needs from you and never take a moment for yourself. For me, that's been especially true after becoming a parent. But even before that, I know what it's like to feel pulled in a million directions. And yet, I found that I'm actually more present and energized for those that I love when I do find a little more space for myself. Therapy has given me the tools to have more of that balance in my life. I know some of you are thinking there's literally not enough time in the day. I get it. But often, it's not about finding more time. Therapy made me realize I was wasting precious energy on things I don't actually need to worry about or do, and equipped me with strategies I didn't even know I needed. If you're not sure where to start with therapy, BetterHelp is an option entirely online. It's designed to be convenient and flexible, so getting started is doable. Find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/newsworthy today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, betterhelp.com/newsworthy. Okay, now back to Money Monday. So these days, more and more businesses are going cashless. Yep, no bills, no coins, no cashiers making change. But what happens when people don't have bank accounts or credit cards? That's where the reverse ATM comes in. People can put in their cash and get back prepaid plastic cards in return. Sometimes the cards will only work at that specific venue. Other times you can get a Visa or MasterCard that you can use anywhere. Reverse ATMs have been installed at most MLB ballparks and NFL stadiums already, plus amusement parks like Six Flags and Hershey Park. They're being used for certain transit systems, restaurants, stores, hotels, and theaters too. So why the cashless trend in the first place? Well, business owners say it's just easier. Without cash on hand, they're not a big target for thieves. The system also saves them from making constant runs to the bank. And for a lot of them, it's easier to buy a machine than deal with the inconvenience. A reverse ATM typically costs thousands of dollars, plus extra for servicing the machine. But an executive who actually sells the reverse ATM says it's possible they're just a bridge technology, since one day we may not need cash or cards, just our phones. All right, thank you so much for listening today and making us part of your daily routine. Be sure to hit the follow button on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever app you like listening on. It'll help make sure you get new episodes each day so you're always in the know. All right, we'll be back with much more news tomorrow. For now, have a great day.